Uh,
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the One More Rep podcast. I'm your host. My name is Joseph Percher. As always, this episode is sponsored by NutriBio Supplements, Crystals Bikinis, BioLongevity Labs, and RapidRxUSA.com. Check the link in the description box for those codes. In that same link, you can check out the School for the Love of Bodybuilding that I host with Tom Schuster. Get in there, become a member. We're doing some really cool stuff in there. Today, I am joined by the big boys, Luke Pritchard, Ty Jordan, and we are doing questions for you guys. Real quick, Ty, how are you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. Just biding my time. We are 3 weeks in the health phase. We've got three more to go.
Still looking really good. Still holding a very clean looking 280. It almost looks like you're setting up another rebound for yourself. So that'll be good. And then
Yeah, I
Luke,
think we
what you
finally saw some
300
key
yet, big
information
guy?
tomorrow.
I'll eat a fucking pizza and hit 300, bro. Fuck it. Uh, I'm like 3 weeks into the off season now. Things are
Yeah.
starting to push up a little more. I just got a little titration in gear too, so
Hell yeah.
I should be there pretty soon. But I'm still like 286 ish fasted.
Okay.
I was like 291 last night, so
Hell yeah.
it's coming.
You want to
It's
talk
coming.
gear? Do you want to say what it is or no?
Yeah, it's dude. It's honestly it's the most I've ever taken injectable wise in an off season. But
Nice.
it's not only, but it's 250 tests every other day, and then 150 EQ every other day, and 150 MPP every other day.
So what is that
So
weekly? Do the math for me. Do you know?
it's about 2 grams total, right around just
Okay.
under. It's like
And then
19,
what do you
19
like high
something.
GH? Like 8 to 10
Yeah, 12
usually?
units, bro.
Oh, 12. Nice. Okay. Any
12 right now.
carpal
Yeah,
tunnel or
so.
anything?
No, occasionally, when I'm like sleeping in the mornings only, like I'll get through
Yeah.
the night and it'll
Yeah, yeah.
just hit me sometimes in the mornings, and it'll be like, honestly, I don't even know if it's a GH, just my fat ass line on my arm
You're
because like
sleeping on that side.
it's
Yeah.
the one arm that I'm on the side of. If I go to the other side, it'll go away. So
And if you
um
like shake it out, does it go away?
I gotta roll off it. So
You
like
got
if
to
I
get
if
off
I
it. Okay.
get to
All
the
right.
other side and then shake it out a little bit, then it will go away. But like and that's the only time it really happens. It doesn't happen. I mean, also holding a pen with my fucking mutant
You're
palms at this
gorilla
point.
fingers, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Whoa.
I can't hold the fucking pen, bro. So I'll get it that way. But other than that, those are the only two like things that like I'll feel the carpal tunnel. I've never
Okay.
really the first time I pushed to 10, honestly, it was way worse.
Yeah.
That took a while getting used to.
You get used to it, and especially if you take
Yeah,
it like you have told me like you kind of hung out at 10 for a while, and then you go to
yeah,
12, and it's like okay, this is
yeah,
this is fine. The times that
yeah,
I've gotten myself in trouble is when I just got impatient and I went from 8 to fucking 16, you know what I mean? And then it's just like my hands are on fire. So funny though. I don't
yeah.
know if you guys saw this. I don't even want to give the guy any publicity by saying his name because I have no idea who the guy is. He's a fucking dweeb. He claims he's a coach online. I go to his page. He has literally like three clients saved on like a highlight, and one of them is from 2021. So it's like, okay, dude, you're not a fucking coach.
Yeah.
But he got some type of he was in making the rounds recently because I guess he was talking about what we were talking about, how high dose hormone over the long term will like change your face. And like he was
Mhm.
calling it the goblin look from HGH. But
Oh,
then
did
this
he make
guy,
a video on Robin Strand?
I didn't see it on Robin Strand. He's made a post showing like a young picture of like Wesley Vissers, and he's like, like 16 and looks like a model. And then it's like what Wesley looks like now. And, his nose is bigger, his face is thicker.
Yeah.
And but besides that, I don't bring this up any other reason. But besides that, he's going on and ready to die on this hill that bodybuilders don't need growth hormone to max out their physique, and that it doesn't aid in growing muscle. And then you
I
look at this
disagree.
guy, and it's like, brother, you look like you play golf and you have no clients. So
Yeah,
why would I ever listen to you?
yeah.
So if that's the case, then what would be the differentiating factor from the 70s and the 80s bodybuilders to the modern era?
Dude, that was one of the first thoughts that I had is that so many people say like, "Oh, look at the Dorian era and look at the size difference. Like they made this choice to be way bigger, and every time it's cited that growth hormone is the reason behind it. And so if
Yeah,
that's the case, then how could you say that?
I'm pretty sure Dorian's training partner Leroy is on record as saying there was a bottle of GH in the trash can after every training session. So I mean, that's when it started. You know,
Yes.
they weren't getting up
Yes.
to 310 pounds in the 80s.
Bro. Anyway, I just
It's
thought
just,
that was funny.
I'm
And
sure.
I don't even want to say the guy's name because he's a fucking dweeb and there's no reason for us to bring light to it. But
Yeah.
you know what? What's the guy's name? Not Tommy John. Who was your coach, Ty, at one point? Tim John? What's his name?
Tim John. Yeah.
Tim John.
Tim John.
I've linked up with him online and we've talked a little bit. Very cool guy, funny guy. But he was going back and forth with this guy about this. And I like stepped in and I had to send Tim a message. I was like, bro, let this fucking dork go die on this hill. Like, do not even bring light, because I would have never even known this guy's name if you didn't bring it up. So don't even bring it up. But all right, let's get to some questions. I had a handful of questions that I feel like we will be able to like help people that listen with these type of questions. So one of them being from a guy that watches the show, big friend of the show. He wrote in and said, how would you set up a 4-day training split for a bigger guy? Upper body is weaker than lower body. And for a little bit of like further context, he's not bullshitting. He's a big guy. He's like a real deal super heavyweight. He's like 280, 290 lean in the off season and competes at 250.
4-day split.
4-day split.
Yeah, I'll take the crack. What comes to mind for me is probably combining everything in a one leg day. That's the obvious one. Then I'd probably run a push day with some auxiliary, delts and arms, a pull day with the auxiliary delts and arms, and then a true shoulder and arm day. It's probably what I'd run.
Nice. I love that. Luke?
I'd probably go. It depends on the person's physique, but what jumped to my mind as far as just talking which day we're going to train, I'd probably go push, pull, a full leg day, and then on the weekend do a full upper body day.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
What is that, Luke? What does that full upper body day look like for you? Are you doing like 3 movements per back,
like
3
one
per
movement
push?
for everything or what?
Yeah, pretty much one movement for everything, 2 really hard sets, and then at the end with like your smaller muscle groups like side delts, rear delts, arms, like superset work. So like I would do like maybe if you're going to start with kind of like chest and move to the back, I would probably do some sort of it. I don't the exercise order can change depending on what the person needs most, but I would have some sort of a chest press, some sort of a high incline or overhead press, some sort of vertical pull, some sort of horizontal pull, and then move into like a bicep tricep superset, maybe some like drop set side delt work, things like that to like try to maximize the time spent in the gym so you're not there for 3 fucking hours. But if it's entire upper body that the guy needs to grow, I mean, you can. I want to kind of try to touch everything again, and at least put it through some sort of like serious failure work. It's not the funnest day because you're not going to get the craziest pump. Some people love that stuff though. So for that, those people work. Or what you could do, another thing that just came to my mind. What Ty said is you could go through like 4 to 6 week blocks of what that 4th day is. So like if you want to do a shoulder and arm day instead, run that for like 6 weeks and then make that 4th day a back day and then make that 4th day a chest day.
I like the idea.
Right?
Rotate the frequency
So
of
it rotates because you don't want to end up all of a sudden being a guy with shoulders, arms, and legs and no chest and back. Right.
Yeah.
So
I actually like that a lot because like I know for me there are some weeks where I don't really feel like I'm capably able to really push the frequency on a certain body part twice. And then there's some weeks that for whatever reason I can, and there wasn't really any difference between one week and the next. So
yeah,
I like that.
Especially those bigger body parts. So you tell this guy he has to go in and do 2 full back days every week. Like that might be a lot. Man, I love the split that you said, Ty. That is my go-to. When I cruise, a lot of times I go to 4 days, and that's literally you described word for word exactly what I do. It's like push day, pull day, arm and delt day, and then I just do legs all together on their own. So just for the sake of something different and giving this guy some different options, Dorian Yates trained his whole career on a 4-day split. And I believe it was basically I think he did like chest and biceps delts and triceps, back and rear delts, and then legs.
All right, now let's play devil's advocate really quick.
Yeah.
Does Dorian's physique improve any more with the fifth day with an arm day in there? Because those arms are
That's such a
going to come up just a little
Bro,
bit.
I think if he was ever going to do a fifth day, and I love Dorian, but this might sound like sacrilegious to people. I think if there was ever going to be a fifth day that improved his overall physique, it would be legs again.
Yeah, okay.
wouldn't
Yeah, he
disagree
could
with
use
that.
more
It would
width
be
with his toss in
something.
the front.
It would be limbs for sure. One of the two limbs,
He's
but
taking the political answer.
you got to
No,
need some limbs, bro.
you know what, dude? And speaking of, you know what? I've done this with my own, like with coaching, with programming, and then Luke just dropped this idea on us right now. You know what? Maybe in Dorian's case, every other week the fifth day is something different. Every other week the fifth day is a leg day, and every other week the fifth day is an arm day. And I do think it would. I honestly, I like to believe that it would have made a difference.
I say this to people, and when I program some of my clients' training, I mean, this is what I do. Is like, sometimes people are just small and they want to bring up everything, or they need to bring up everything. So like they want to it's like if I have someone fill out like an application form or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, like where do you feel you need to improve the most? What do you want to focus on? Whatever. They'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, chest and shoulders, and I want to bring up my arms and back and legs. And I'm like, well, okay, like you
All
can't, it
right,
don't
brother.
work like that. So
Yeah.
like you have to prioritize things because you only have so much weekly volume you can allocate. So like if you do things in periods or periodize your training where you're focusing on you know arms are a priority for the next 6 to 8 weeks, right? And then you hammer your fucking arms, and then that shifts to
Yep.
chest, and then that shifts to legs, and then, so like it rotates, and you have blocks where you're prioritizing a certain muscle and shoot more volume that way, and then you lay off the gas and give it to something else because you can't do that with every body part at once.
Also,
So
you
Luke,
can't
when you
do it
said,
long term. You can't do it long term with one body part. Like I'm
Yeah,
really
exactly.
hammering my arms right now, and I've reached a point, even with good form, thoughtful
Mhm.
movement selection, all this stuff. My wrists and forearms and elbows fucking hurt, and it's just a matter of
Yep,
overuse. So it's like at some
yep.
point, then something else is going to need to be the priority.
Do it with legs,
so
it's your knees. Do it
Yeah,
with chest, it's your shoulders. You know what I mean?
right.
let me ask this question to the both of you guys. So when you are trying to bias a particular muscle group in a growth phase, are you typically running that for about 4 to 6 weeks before you feel like you have to switch up the emphasis, or are you going a little bit longer?
I
I
would
think
say the
go,
window's
Luke.
a little more like I'd say the window's a little more like 4 to 8, but it's more based on feel, like Joe said. Like you'll know when it's time to like, all right, my arm. I mean, my wrists are what I'm more worried about when I go to train arms than anything else.
Yeah.
Like that's when you kind of know, like, okay, I've kind of run my course with this. So I think it's more of a listening to your body thing, which this is why it's important to have a coach when you're younger. I mean, it's always important to have a coach, but like especially when you're younger because it's you don't really know your body that well when you're starting to the point where you can identify that. So like if you give your coach feedback, I might be able to say, hey, all right, we're gonna pull back here and we're gonna add volume here. We're gonna pull back here for a little bit and just chill or whatever. Um, but like as Joe's obviously been doing this a long time, we've all been doing this a long time. We can tell when we're kind of getting to that point of, all right, it's been enough.
Yeah.
Um, and that's usually what I'm looking for. It just most of the time will fall in that like 4 to 8, 6 to 8 week window, I would say.
I was
Okay.
going to say the exact same thing. And then it just varies on what the circumstance is. What is that body part? You know, like
Yeah.
how much does the connective tissue of that particular body part take a beating? How far in are you? You know what I mean? Like if some, I got somebody that's 27 and young and full of fucking piss and vinegar and he's ready to get after it. It might be 8 weeks before he ever speaks up and says, man, my elbow's going to hurt a little bit. Man, for me, I feel like I've lived this a lifetime. So 4 or 6 weeks, around 6 weeks, I start feeling it. Like I started feeling it in my elbows. And then, okay, it's either you make an adjustment or you hit the pre-workout a little bit harder for the next 2 weeks and make it to 8 and then make a change.
All right, I got one more question before we jump.
Yeah,
So on the
let's
flip
go.
side of that, how long are you guys comfortable with a good body part being on maintenance?
It depends because I've done this. You know what? I've been probably training, doing my own programming like this probably since 2022, where at the time I was working with John Jewett and we looked up and he was like, man, what are you doing in the gym? And I just listed out like what I was doing. It had 2 leg days. And he was like, man, I don't know if I would train like this. Like your legs are way ahead of your whole upper body. Like you might want to rethink this. And then for a while, I was like, oh shit, okay. I went to basically like a permanent once a week leg day and just
Mhm.
toggled which upper body part was a priority, right? So it'd be 4 or 6 of back, 4 or 6 weeks of arms, whatever. And I was just toggling this around with one set leg day. And then I can remember in the middle of 2023 sending him a check in and being like, and him being like, man, I got to be honest with you. It kind of feels like your legs are behind now. So it's like, then I'm like, holy shit. Okay, fuck. Like, this is the one thing I had any semblance of pride about. And then now my legs suck. So,
It kind of
um,
sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
it'll sneak up on you. I think the big thing, and I made this mistake, I think, during that time period is that not only did I reduce the frequency, but I also thought like, okay, my legs are so far ahead, I don't need to bring every set to where I was bringing it before. And
Uh-huh.
that's where it's a big
Yeah,
loss,
that's
you know?
that's
That
the
same
fatal flaw
that
right there.
same
That's the
thing kind
fatal
of
error.
happened to me this year. That same thing that happened to me this year. I've always been like torso dominant, just naturally
Yeah,
like
your
chest
back
and
is
back have always
awesome, dude.
come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always come easily. So like those two body parts have more or less been on maintenance volume, you could say, for me for a little while. And this dude I know, a friend of mine, he knows Phil Heath. And when I was getting ready for the Olympia, he sent Phil my pictures and asked for his feedback. And Phil said like I looked really good. He was like, but he needs more chest. And I was like, he's like chest and biceps. I was like, fuck. I was like, chest, damn. I was like, I
Like
must have
a
like just
kick
weeded
to
all
the
the shelf
dick,
shit
dude.
fucking long.
Yeah.
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 So like obviously, of course, there's more chest volume in now. Um,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, I mean it's hard to know, bro, because like
It is
for
hard to
me,
know.
the reason like those muscle groups, and this is an element of genetics too. The reason those muscle groups for me just don't require as much volume is because my ability to fire my chest and fire my back while I'm training is so much greater than any other body part of mine that I can get so much more out of every set and every session. So like my chest, I noticed when I trained it more frequently, it didn't necessarily grow. It just didn't recover as well because I was so fucked from like a session 3 days prior, even if it was only 6 sets, you know, that I was like, I really don't think I need to do this twice a week. But
Mhm.
my arms and my legs and my shoulders and all the other shitty body parts I have, yeah. So um, I guess it's so person dependent. I mean, you kind of just got to keep an eye on things and like you need to prioritize your weak points, but a lot of guys out there realistically just need to get bigger everywhere. And guys too young nowadays are trying to be like, well, I want bigger arms, but like they don't have a strong body part yet. Like they don't have anything. So like you've got to get to a point first where like you're getting on a stage and judges are saying, hey, like for me, it was really after I did USA's, I got smoked. It was just like
Bring your legs up.
like
Yeah.
everywhere, right? Get your legs up and you'll be fine. And so I was like, all right. So it's just a whole lot of focus on legs. Um, but I think most kids nowadays need to focus on just putting on muscle first before they're worrying about like being all picky. But it completely depends, which is a shitty answer. It's just you got to keep an eye on the physique and manage things.
I think it depends too, like how far out in front of it, of everything else is it? Like, are your legs way, way so far
Yeah.
obviously out? Like, I have a guy right now that has the craziest set of legs I have ever seen, and
Yeah, I probably would tell them not even to train them at all, to be honest.
he does them once a month.
Yeah.
And dude, the way I started with him, and I was like, okay, like, we'll do legs once a week, lower volume, and then we'll allocate everything else to the upper body. And it was like his legs just kept getting bigger. And then a month in, I was like, bro, why don't we just do this like once every 2 weeks? And his legs just kept getting bigger. And finally, I'm like, dude, do these once a month and go in and have it be a fucking snooze fest. And
Yeah.
because not only were the legs crazy, and I'm not knocking the guy. This is just objectively what it is. The legs are national super heavyweight legs from every angle. And then
Mm.
his upper body is like a middle of the road middleweight. So it's like a huge disparity, right?
It makes
So
it
it's
even
like,
worse.
so then it's like, man, just do them once a month. Like to the point he checked in the other day, he was like, "Oh, this was the one week that I trained my legs, and I almost felt like shaky and unbalanced doing some of the movements because I just feel like I'm relearning them." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of what we're gonna need for right now." Like, this is I've talked about this kid. It's one of my clients, Daniel. This kid, dude, this kid hit the genetic lottery. His dad played college football with Bo Jackson, Division I college football with Bo Jackson, and his mother was a world record holder, Olympic sprinter. So if there's anyone that was ever meant to have big legs, it's this guy. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so like just that as an example, they're so far out in front. Like this kid could not train his legs for a year, and I am pretty
Yeah.
confident that they would still be his best body part at the end of the year. If
I've
they're
seen physiques like that.
if
I
it's a
would
little
say,
bit if it's a little bit ahead, you're going to have to keep an eye on it. You're going to have to be more.
yeah,
You can't just kind of set it and forget it. You have to keep an eye on it.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, like you look at someone like Rubio, you're not going to tell that guy to train legs any more than he has to. You know what I mean? Like,
He's a perfect example. I would tell him to
yeah,
experiment for a full year and not train them
yeah,
and see what's
yeah,
up.
I would too.
Nick, I would
He
tell
probably gets
I would
enough.
tell Nick not to train his arms for a full year.
Yeah,
At one point, Phil Heath in his prime, I would have told him not to train his arms for a full year.
yeah. I mean, these guys, like, I mean, they're going to get because of, like I said, the ability to recruit just genetically there. Like, I mean, I'm sure Rubio's getting enough stimulus doing the Stairmaster, bro. Like, he doesn't need
100%.
fucking, his quads will go
100%.
from that, bro. His calves will go from that. Nick, the same thing. He does a fucking pull down and his arms
Right.
are going to be 30 fucking inches. You don't need to
Right.
do curls.
Right.
So,
And then to your point, and one other thing that I wanted to talk about is like I didn't start thinking about that training or that type of training where it's like, oh, I prioritize a couple body parts in this block and then what like I think I was 30 or 31. So
yeah.
like you were saying, a lot of guys just need to be bigger, period. And not I don't always agree with his stances, but I saw Jordan Peters talk about this. And he
Yeah.
was like, upper lower or like full body 3 times a week is great for the guys that are small because you just need
Yeah.
everything all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas like
I agree.
I tried upper lower and I hated it.
Yeah. I mean, we've had this conversation, not to open that door again, but like obviously do stuff you enjoy. That's a big thing.
Of course.
But it's more of like these kids, these young kids, because they'll see like my split, like I touched on earlier. Right now, it's very specific. It's kind of unorthodox. Like it's somewhat normal, but it's a little unorthodox because it's what I need and what I feel works best for my physique right now. But I'm almost 10 years in, whatever. I just turned pro. I'm trying to fucking, take things to another level. I have to do what I have to do, right? But I've been doing this for a long time. I didn't start last fucking year. I didn't start last month, right? These kids now, like they might look at my split or even more like a Nick Walker or these guys at the top and what they're doing and how fine tuned they might be on certain things, and they might try and replicate that for themselves. And it's just like, dude, just get in the gym and lift some fucking heavy weight. It's
Yeah.
that simple. Don't worry about
That don't
reps
miss your
reserve and
meals,
stretching and squeezing. Yeah,
Yeah.
just eat your fucking food, throw some weight on a fucking bar, throw the shit around, and then once after 2, 3 years, then you'll start to figure out where you kind of need to put your focus. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
All
we
right.
talk about it a lot. We talk about it a lot, but with a lot of the young kids that we see in the gym nowadays, it's almost like all of them are coming into the gym with a scalpel instead of the sledgehammer. I
Yes.
see all these kids, their gym bag is full of every attachment you can think of. They're
Yeah.
seat belting themselves into every exercise, but
Yeah.
there's no weight on the bar. There's just no weight on the bar. And you see them artificially trying to create drag on movements to feel it, but they're just not reaching any level of adequate stimulus to really grow any tissue.
And not to knock these kids, but I think that's a perfect example. I'm grateful that I didn't grow up when social media was such a prevalent and
Right.
toxic thing. Like, I feel like everything that you just described, Ty, is a very obvious result of not wanting to be ridiculed online. Even though it kind of ends up being the opposite, like, in terms of like people that really know how to train or whatever, we're looking at it like, what the fuck is this kid doing? But they're doing it because the circles that they're within, they don't want to be called an ego lifter. They don't want people to say that they're training sloppy. Like to me, like when I was coming up, that was the last thing that I was worried about, was someone saying that I trained sloppy, or like, man,
Yeah,
I was like, come hell or high water, I am squatting this 405 for 10 fucking reps. Like there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing this.
yeah. I had a younger
Yeah.
guy on my roster send me some training this week, and he was running the Mega Mass linear row. And this kid is like 270 pounds. He's a big kid. He's got some weight to lose, but he had a 35 on there. And he's probably not going to hear this, so I don't really mind bringing this up. But I had a really intense heart to heart with him.
Yeah.
We got to kick it in the gear. Like, this is just not getting it done. You know,
Right.
you're a big ass
Right.
kid. Like, this is what my wife uses at
Right.
a buck 25, you
Right.
know?
That's, man. And that's just a perfect example, because he couldn't possibly look at himself or do anything else in the gym or fuck out on a farm or anything and legitimately think like, this is all that I can do. This is what
Right. And so,
the social media has drilled into his brain. If you want to do this properly, this is how you have to do it.
right. And this is a hard worker. This is a kid who plays rugby voluntarily. Like, he likes to get after it. But I think it's what you're highlighting. There is a fear of ridicule of anything
Yes.
less than the textbook exhibition set, you know? So
Yep.
you've got guys that are just
You know
afraid to
what
get
though?
after it.
The pendulum is starting to swing back, and
It
there are
is.
some kids now that are doing the opposite,
Yeah.
like that are
But those
literally
kids
like
will get big. Those kids will
I
take their
said. So there's
gear,
a kid
they'll
in my
eat their
gym. There's a
food,
kid in my
and they're going to be big.
there's a kid in my gym, and I had this conversation with him the other day because he might hire me here soon for a prep he's about to start, and he trains hard. He's got a lot of. I'll say he trains with a lot of energy. He doesn't necessarily
Yes.
know what he's doing. He's not necessarily
Sure.
doing the right things, but
But he's
he's
excited.
giving it everything he's got. He's giving everything
Yeah.
he's got, right? Like this is where I had the conversation with him. He asked me to spot him on a 4-plate back squat. The other was like last week. He wanted me to spot him on back squats. He had 4 plates on there, heels elevated, right? Feet really close together. I was like, how many are you going for? And he was like, with you, I could probably do 10. I was like, oh, damn. All right, let's go. By his third rep, he almost failed. And
Yeah.
every single time, the knees were caving so far in that they were damn near touching each other. And I
Yeah.
almost stopped them. And I was like, because I was like literally cringing. I was like, something's going to snap. I was like, I don't watch
Yes.
this. Um, and I had him do like 2 more where I spotted him through it, and then I had him rack it. I told him, I was like, yo, I was like, because we've talked about, him hiring me and stuff. And I was like, look, the one thing you can't teach is effort, bro. And I was like,
Yeah.
you have effort. I was like,
Yeah.
we just need to redirect all your energy into the right things.
Right.
I like what you're doing with this as far as like giving us everything you have, but we need to rework your execution. You need to activate your glutes before you do this. You need to keep outward pressure on your knees over your toes, the whole thing, right? And I was giving him tips on how to do that and stuff. And I was like, but look, at the end of the day, at least you're fucking giving it, bro.
Yeah,
I
you
like
You
the
know,
know,
way that you
relax nowadays.
communicated that. I like the way that you communicated that with him, because it's like,
Yeah,
you don't want to take away the excitement of training hard, because
yeah,
you can't teach it. You can't put it in someone
yeah,
if it's not there. So the way that you said that
exactly.
to him, it was like, okay, I'm affirming with you, like, as this guy that you look up to, big pro bodybuilder that you
Yeah,
asked me to spot. This is the right shit. I want you to keep. This is the good
yeah,
shit that I want you to keep. But then let's just
yeah.
apply this same excitement in another way. Like, there's another way
In
to
the
do
right
this.
ways. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to like I said, I didn't want to be that guy that's like lighten the weight. This is too much for you. You're fucking whatever.
But
Like
it's
that
all
some
about the
dudes are like
messaging, right? Like, it's all about how you
exactly. Yeah,
communicate that. If you walk over with an
because dude,
ego and
I
say,
want
"Hey,
to
bro,
see. I would
you
much.
shouldn't be lifting these weights. Like, you
Yeah,
don't belong lifting this weight." He might think you're a dickhead. When you come over and
I
say, "Hey,
know.
man, listen, I like what you're doing, and this is going to get you really far, but you know what? For right now, you're just not there, and we need to just clean this up."
And I think we'd all agree we'd much rather see a kid with fucking too much weight on the bar, just throwing it around and getting aggressive, than some kid fucking stretching and squeezing some fucking
Fake
bullshit
failing on
for
some
2 hours.
cable shit. Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
let's
I mean,
go ahead, Ty. Go ahead, Ty. Last thing,
I
and
was
then
just
we'll
going to say,
go.
I think that's the refinement process that most of us go through, doing
Yeah.
things a little bit sloppy, a little bit too heavy, and then we clean it up after we put on a little bit of appreciable tissue, you
Then
know.
it's like, you know what? As you mature, you learn which exercises that is appropriate for. Like, I've seen, Luke, I've seen you do barbell rows with
yeah,
455. And it's like, yeah, there's a
yeah,
little bit of body English in there, but it's like, it works. And then I've seen you do one
Yeah.
arm pull downs and it's like, way more accurate, let's say, so it's
Yeah.
just, I
Yeah.
think that's a part of the maturation process also. But like you talked about, you
I
can't put
always
that in somebody.
I always say it's a balance, man. It always comes
It's a
back somewhere in the
balance.
middle.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, not to ramble on, but it's like all these other conversations. The answer lies somewhere in the middle or somewhere with a little bit of all of it.
Yep.
People want to argue, volume or intensity or frequency. It's like,
Exactly.
it kind of is a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? Like,
It's all, yeah, it's a perfect combination of everything.
what do you guys think of shoulder pressing for delts versus raises? Are shoulder presses a waste of time?
This is
I
actually
don't think
something I've gone back and forth on this
Me too.
myself.
I've changed my mind on this
Um,
twice.
I don't really fucking know if I'm going to be honest with you. Um, Straight up. Like
This is why
sometimes
the
I
people
feel like
love you,
for the
Luke.
bro, for the longest time, I was like, yes, you need to press heavy for like big, thick, wide shoulders. And
Yeah.
then I went the complete other way and I was like, get plenty of front delt work from chest pressing. You don't need to do it. It's a waste of time. And now I'm like somewhere in the middle. I would say if you're trying to bring up your shoulders, I'd have an overhead press of some sort in there. Yes. Um, if you were just trying to kind of, I don't know, if there are other body parts that require more volume, you don't need them. Like your shoulders aren't going to shrink or
Right.
dwindle away if you're not overhead pressing.
Right.
Um, but I do like to have that for myself right now. I have an overhead press in once, like I train on an 8-day rotation, so 3 on, 1 off. And one of those 2 push days in there has one overhead press.
Okay.
To just have a little more shoulder volume. So like that's how I have it set up for myself. And I do believe if someone needs like overall just density and thickness to this part of their body, that it does help for sure. But it's like I said, it's not something you absolutely need. You can
Yeah.
still be fine with chest work and raises for sure.
Are you
yeah, my answer on
overhead
that.
shoulder pressing, Ty?
Yeah, I am. So my answer on that would be unless you're somebody that desperately needs to bring their chest up, you probably should be prioritizing all of that pressing effort towards, your flat, your decline, your high incline. I think all of it should go to the chest. But I think anybody who's not in that set of situations is probably better served keeping the overhead press in there at all times. I know for me, just the illusion of my overall shelf and all of my front poses is drastically improved when that overhead press is in there. And I know
Okay.
for me as well, when I'm overhead pressing with a pronated grip, I do feel tension in my medial delts. So long as I get a
Okay.
little bit of conversion at the top of that press, I do feel my medial delts working and I feel them get loaded and the delts as a whole just look better. Because I've
Yeah.
gone through plenty of periods where I'm doing no overhead pressing with the goal of really maximizing overall chest development. And I feel like after a certain point in time, I start to see the illusion of my overall shelf and the fullness and the width of the delts from the front start to dissipate a bit.
These are all good answers. I have, like you said, Luke, I've been back and forth on this, like hard like dug in with hard answers that I've changed my mind on. I can remember, dude, years ago, I was like a big Matt Jansen fan. I never hired him or anything, but
Oh,
I
dude, we're the fucking same, bro.
I
I was the
applied a
same
lot
boat.
of what Matt talked about, right? Like even like
Mhm.
the way that he would train his back, he would almost do like this double stretch when he would train his back and
Yeah,
talked big time. Like if you want bigger delts over the next year, like put 100 pounds on your overhead press.
I
So
remember that. Yeah, I
I've
do.
lived by that, dude. And to be totally honest with you, and it could have been a form thing, it could have been, that my skill of training was just not that high at that point, but it didn't carry over to bigger shoulders for me. And so
I'll say
at one
this
point,
too,
go ahead.
just real quick, for whatever this is worth. My overhead pressing might be one of my strongest lifts, period.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's my shoulders aren't that big. So
Yeah.
whatever that's
Yeah.
worth.
We all have stuff like that. But so then I went
Yeah.
completely in the other direction, right? And I did just crazy amounts, volume, high, like in terms of number of sets. All of the sets that I did were high rep, and I would do crazy high frequency, both side and rear delts 4 or 5 times a week, often every time I step foot in the gym. And I've reached a point now where every now and again, I have a couple people in my corner, and it kind of changes depending on like who I'm close with at that time or whatever. But recently I like to kind of just audit myself. And so I sent my check-in pictures to Justin, and then I also sent my check-in pictures to Austin, my buddy that I do the other podcast with. And I was like, I don't need praise. Like, I'm not looking to have you tell me what looks good. What are the 3 or 5 things that stand out to you that need to improve? And both Justin and Austin said my front delts. Whereas I've had people now in the gym or even online, I get fucking accused all the time now for whatever reason of having SEO in my delts, which is a compliment, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I would tell you guys if I was. I put it in my arms.
Yeah.
But long story short, from treating it like that, my side delts and my rear delts have become like one of the best parts of my physique. But my front delts are like, after them saying that, I'm like, man, like side chest, front relax, like my front delt is like missing. It's like not there. So if you're one of these people that adequately can grow specifically your front delt just from chest pressing, I think you probably can do without it, especially if you're trying to bring up specifically like your side and rear delts. I think you can for a block of time, like we talked about. It doesn't need to be a forever thing, but for a block of time, you can do without it. If you, like me, your front delt just hasn't really grown alongside your chest because of the chest work that you do, you should really consider having an overhead press in and really consider having it be like a big progressive overload movement that you use.
I would say
Yeah,
at the very least, some sort of like high incline press.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to have necessarily like a shoulder day and you're doing all your lateral work on top of other body parts days,
Yeah.
on that chest day, have a fucking high incline press, like steep,
Yeah.
right?
Like almost honestly, I
On a
think
stiff
that's
machine
probably
and
the best angle for the shoulders anyway.
probably, yeah.
Like I don't want it,
Yeah.
I don't want it 90 degrees totally upright.
No,
I
fuck
kind
no,
of
no,
no,
want
never
one.
that. Never,
my press is
never
75.
that.
My press is
Yeah.
75.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What do you like,
Yeah,
Todd,
Joe,
for
I was gonna.
overhead?
Yeah, so I typically prefer plate loaded machines for the overhead. I mean, I think we're all at the point where kicking up dumbbells is you kind of need a partner at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm not kicking
Yeah.
up the 120s or the 130s. But I was gonna add your coach, Justin Compton. He had some of the craziest front delts of all time.
Ever.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of an underrated muscle group that nobody talks about. But when
Totally.
you think about hallmark crazy delts, you think about like Dennis Wolf, Marcus Rule,
Yes.
even somebody like
Yes.
Ronnie, who was a big overhead presser.
Yep.
Crazy front delts really set a physique apart. Someone that also comes to mind, Nasser, had crazy front delts.
Yes. Yep.
So I don't think enough
It
people
sets up,
contemplate
there's a
what
lot of shots that it makes a big difference in. Like you think about
right.
like a
It's a
front
huge part of
relax
your
or a front
silhouette.
lat. Yeah.
And like it's a huge part of your silhouette, even in your front and back double, like those peaks. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's
Bro,
your
I turn
front
around,
delt
hit
right
this back
there.
double, and I've spent all this time trying to build up my arms, build up my delts. And like the arms have good peak. The rear delts sweep pretty good to the bottom, and then they're
Yeah,
just like flat across. And I'm like, damn, I don't even have
yeah,
these.
yeah,
So
yeah, bro.
yeah, it's
Once again, I'm gonna say it again. It's a balance thing. It
It's a
all comes
balance
back to
thing, and it
balance.
depends for you. Like, what do you need? Like
Yeah,
take a good look at your
yeah.
physique. If you don't, if you have a coach, ask your coach. He'll be happy to give you an honest assessment. Even if you do have a
Mhm.
coach, if you have 1 or 2 good bodybuilding friends, send them your honest pictures, not some fucking filtered mirror selfie. Send them your real deal pictures and say, man, what's missing? What do I need to bring up?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, okay,
I got a couple. I want to.
go ahead.
You want me to ask one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask this one dude because he asked one from the one time we didn't.
Yeah,
I kind
yeah,
of asked him at the same time. He asked one from the one we missed and then one again today. So this dude Silverback Bobby said,
yeah, yeah. I talked to this
one
guy.
question
Yeah.
one question was, what are your long-term goals in bodybuilding? And another one was, what is each of you guys' favorite part about bodybuilding?
Ooh.
So
Man, it's not super objective, and it sounds corny. I really just want like a pro level physique. At some point, I don't know if I'll ever even feel it myself, but I would like at some point to walk around and in my own skin feel like I have earned a pro looking physique.
Mhm.
Of course, I want to
That's
win a
fair.
pro card. Of course, I want to win a pro
Yeah.
card. I would be lying to you if I said that I don't want to win that. But I also know that I have certain shortcomings in terms of a really good stage level physique. Especially, I noticed as I've gotten bigger, like I talked about, my waist has continued to grow. So that might at some point just disqualify me. If I achieve the amount of size that I need, at least for the stage, the midsection might not be what they're looking for, which I'm okay with. But in general, like, and when I say pro caliber physique, I really mean size. I just want to be enormous. So that's one. And then what was the other one?
Your favorite part about bodybuilding?
Oh man, I love the whole process. For us, just specifically, like obviously outside of anything that might come from coaching, I love like off-season training. I love being like full of food and big and heavy and filling out fucking
Yeah.
big shirts. And then I get to go into the gym for 2 hours and feel like I'm the master of my craft.
Yeah, those are great questions. I would say, Joe, I'm right there with you. I mean, obviously, actually winning the pro card is not necessarily in our hands, but I
Right.
absolutely think that attaining a pro physique is in our hands, and I think
Yeah.
that's what we're working
You're
for every
pretty
day.
damn close, brother.
Um, yeah, God
You're
willing, we'll
right
see.
there, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, but I would say my favorite part about bodybuilding, and we love bodybuilding in and out, is probably just the fact that I don't know when it's over.
Mm,
For those of us that were competitive athletes, there was always kind of definitive endpoint for whatever journey we were on. You kind of knew that even as a college football player, it was going to end at the senior year, or if
right,
you
right.
played high school sports, it was going to end when you graduated high school. But I mean, we see guys bodybuilding into their 60s. We see guys competitively bodybuilding into their mid 40s. So
Yep.
that's probably just been my favorite part of knowing that this journey is really indefinite.
Yeah. What about you, Luke?
Cool. For me, my long-term goals in bodybuilding have drastically changed because of the way things have kind of played out. I mean, like when I first started, I sucked. So it was literally just like, I don't even know what's going to happen. I mean, I'd like to be a pro one day, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that will happen. And then it became, okay, I want to be a pro by 30. And then 5 shows in at 28, I'm a pro. So
Hell
now I
yeah.
have another decade as a professional bodybuilder. So it's like, what does another 10 years of this look like for me? Um, I'm gonna say something that might be crazy, or
Yes.
maybe not. I
Say
don't
it.
know.
No, say it.
I guess I'd like to make the Olympia one day. I don't know. So
Dude, I
like
thought you were gonna say top 5 at the Olympia, and I wouldn't have even flinched at
I
it.
mean, dude, I don't fucking know. Like I literally
Yeah.
don't fucking know. Like I don't know what I look like ever. So like
Yeah.
I don't believe that at all, bro. Like I sit
It's
there and I'm
sick.
like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
And so it's like, like I'm around all these guys, bro. I've got like
I
I
know.
was just spent the week. I had a whole conversation with Derek Lunsford, Matt Grego, Justin Compton, and Mike Condell about my pro debut. What the fuck? What the
Yeah,
fuck
that's
is going
awesome.
on? Right? Like I
Yeah.
don't know. And so they're pushing me to do this show and that show, and I'm like, well, I'm too small. They're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Um, so I don't really know, but that is, I guess, I mean, if that ever happened, man, I mean, fuck. I've already accomplished what my original goal was way earlier, right? Was just to win a pro card. So um, it's kind of like the sky's the limit now. So I mean, we'll see what 10 years
It is.
brings, but like
It is.
I don't see why I can't be at least contending for winning a pro show at
You're
some
gonna
point in
win
the
pro
next 10 years.
shows, and I think it's not unrealistic to think that you could be a top 5 Olympian. You're gonna
That's
be
fucking
there, dude.
sick to hear. That's sick to hear. So yeah, I would say that, and that would be literally wild to me.
Yeah,
Um, and then my favorite part about bodybuilding, my favorite phase is obviously the rebound. I fucking love rebounding.
of
But
course.
other than that, I love the progression. This is why I would
Mm,
never do classic physique. And this is why I
right.
encourage a lot of guys at their weight cap to leave classic physique because the most exciting part about bodybuilding to me is that next year, that next physique, that next look you can
Yep.
bring to the stage. That's also why I always say one of my markers as far as when I'm going to retire is when I feel like I've brought my best and I'm now doing this
Yep.
because I don't it does not excite me to put in all the work and effort that I put in around the clock around the year to bring something that's worse or the same as what I've already seen. The
Right.
exciting thing is like I'm doing all this work trying to get to 300 pounds, trying to yada yada yada, because what's 255, 260 going to look like on stage for me instead of 245, right? Like what's 270? What would that look like on me? 280, right? What the fuck on stage? What the fuck would that look like? So like that
Oh yeah.
excitement, that's what drives me, and that's what I love is like watching things happen over time, and then you never know it when you're in the moment because you're so head down and you're so hard on yourself. But then you look back at pictures and whatever, and you're like, dude, I mean, I'm 285, 290 pounds right now, and I'm not obese. That's
No,
pretty
you look
cool.
great, dude. It's
Like,
sick.
I didn't know that. Like, I didn't think I could do that. So, that's pretty
Hell
cool,
yeah.
bro. You know what the fuck? If
Yeah.
I get to 300 pounds, like, that's pretty cool. And then, like, it just keeps moving. So, I would say it's the progression for me. That's my favorite part
I
about the
love that
sport, just
answer,
seeing how
dude.
far you can get.
That might have been the best answer out of all of it. I love it. Because you know what, man, as someone that is like um not to say woe is me, but like I don't necessarily feel like I had the genetics that's someone would have looked at me as a teenager and said, you should be a bodybuilder, right? Like
Yeah. I didn't,
reg-
though.
no, I hear you. But
Yeah.
regardless of that, like I've improved every year. And whether you think my
Yeah.
physique sucks or whether you think my genetics suck or I'm not going anywhere, you can't take that away from me. I put last year's picture
Well,
up against this year's picture. And if you got two functioning set of eyes, you can see that I've
yeah.
progressed. So I love that,
And
dude. It's
that to
because
me,
that is bodybuilding. That's bodybuilding.
that's exactly what I was about to say. That to me is bodybuilding. And I
Yeah.
have a significant, not that my opinion, I have a significant amount of respect for people that do that year after year after
Yeah.
year. That just put their fucking head down, do the work, don't bitch, don't complain, and they're
Well, because there's
even
no
if it's just
faking it.
5 to 7 pounds bigger every year, and they're just a little bit better here and there. And I'm just watching them, even if they're still struggling at the regional level, or maybe they're second call out national guy consistently, but like you see them and what they're doing around the clock. I want to shake their hand, but yo, you're a fucking bodybuilder, bro. You know what I
Well, there's
mean?
no faking it, dude. You can't buy your way into progress. Like
Mm.
something else, like you know what, you get a better job or whatever. You can go lease a car and make it look like you're doing better than you are, or whatever have. Dude, in this, there's no faking it, especially in the eyes of other real deal bodybuilders. We know what the
Yeah,
fuck is up. We know what goes
yeah,
into looking 9 pounds bigger from last year. We know
yeah,
what your year was like if you do that.
yeah,
So yeah, I love that, dude. We got one more and then we'll go because I know you gotta go, Luke.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and I think this is a good one. This is a young guy that I talked to in the gym, and I know he's got a good head on his shoulders, but it might help him to hear from us. So he says, "What do you think about ditching the logbook for my back training specifically? I honestly don't think I'm mature enough yet as a lifter to avoid getting too attached to progressive overload. It makes my form break down and I lose the connection to the actual muscle. When I don't track my numbers and just focus on working my back, I have great mind muscle connection on all movements, great pumps, great workouts. But when I try to beat the previous numbers, that connection disappears unless I just stick to higher rep ranges and then it feels like I'm not training hard. This is only prevalent to my back training."
I'll say this. First of all, I respect his ability to acknowledge that he's not mature enough to
Yeah.
like that takes a man to say that. Um, that's obviously the knock on logbooking. I logbooked to the majority of my career. And I was a big proponent of it, and a lot of people aren't for that reason. Is because you start chasing numbers, right? And your workouts dependent on numbers and not anything external. This is a big reason I never consistently barbell flat benched was because my ego would always jump in and be like, yeah, let's try fucking 4.5, 5 plates, bro. And it didn't really matter like what was going on. It was just I wanted to bench fucking 5 plate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I could just feel not my chest and everything else about to snap. And I was like, this ain't doing me shit. So I never did that for that reason. I'll say this. I think ditching the logbook for the back specifically could be useful in this situation, but you still have to be conscious of what you're lifting and you still have to find ways to get stronger over time.
Yep.
So you don't need to marry yourself to the numbers where it's like you go in there and it's like, if I don't do 4 plates for 10 today, I'm a fucking failure. But 4 months from now, there should be more weight on whatever bar you're using than there is today. Like it doesn't need to be as forced. That progression doesn't need to be as forced as it is when you do logbook like that. But you have to find a way for that stimulus to increase. And a lot of times that comes from low progression over time. Um, and essentially get stronger. But it doesn't need to be as forced. So I think just for your mental, ditching the logbook is a good thing in this situation. Focus on contracting and getting a good pump, but still train heavy and hard. Don't use that as an excuse to train like, oh, weight doesn't matter, because weight matters.
Yeah.
It's not the sole determining factor of progress. So make sure that over time things are increasing, but it doesn't have to happen every single back workout.
Ty, talk to
So
me.
that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I like a lot of what Luke said. I would say back is probably the number one body part I would signal to somebody to probably ditch the logbook for if they're not seeing the progressions that they want. And I would probably highlight that towards the lat bias training because I know for me as a dedicated logbook guy over the years, whenever I really try to lean in on the numbers for the lat bias work, specifically with the one arm pull downs and the one arm rowing, I very quickly crossed that fine line where the lat bias disappeared and I started white knuckling it, and the forearm bias and the bicep bias started to come into
Yes.
play. And so, I was religiously trying to ISO pull 5 plates and ISO row 7 plates. When I really started to humble myself and keep myself around 4 to 4 plates and a quarter and just 5 and 6 plates per side on the ISO rows, that's when my lats really started to grow. And I stopped white knuckling every single set. And for guys that are a bit arm dominant like me, I would say that's definitely going to be the recipe for you because you can take 2 sets that look almost identical from the outside perspective, but what the lifter is feeling can be entirely different based on a mere 10 or 20 pounds.
Man, that's such a good point. As you were talking, I realized that I have, over the past probably 6 weeks, intuitively done exactly what you just said. And I didn't even, if you had asked me about it separately of this, I wouldn't have even realized that I did it. But I have my lat specific, like scalpel movements first in my workout. And I realized like I have not tracked this lat specific row for like 6 weeks in a row. But then I get to my upper back stuff, like I'm doing, the humbler row or whatever else. And I track that. I track that every week. I'm fighting for one more rep or whatever the case is.
Right? That's a sledgehammer movement.
That's a sledgehammer. No, I love what you guys said, and I hope that this hits with this guy because this is not. You don't need to do this, and again, like we talked about earlier, this doesn't need to be a forever decision. Like if you need to spend 4 months just locking in with your back on and what it's supposed to feel like without the pressure of the logbook, do that. Later down the line, you may come back to the logbook as a means of objectifying your progress, and that's okay. But for right now, like if you can get great workouts, and this kid trains hard, I've been in the gym with him. Like I know that wanting to train hard is inherent. Like it's either in you or it's not. It's in this guy, so he wants to train hard. So go in and just let it rip. Like you don't need to worry about the numbers because, like you said, Ty, like it's there are a few aspects that I think really matter as a bodybuilder when you're training. Objective progress, like progressive stimulus. I like to say more so than overload. But also, I am constantly asking like my clients or people that send me training, even if it looks great, if it looks textbook, I'm like, how does it feel? How does it feel while you're doing it? And then when you get off of it, do you have a crazy pump in the muscle? So if you are doing one of these aspects, but it comes completely at the cost of another one of these aspects, meaning you've made objective progress by your numbers, but by doing so, you threw out the idea that I can feel this in my back. Well, then it was a loss. It was a net loss. So
Let me.
really, really lean into the fact that you can feel your back. And I think, of course, you have to train hard and things should go up over time. You can't just put a 20-pound cable on there and say that you felt your back. But like in the parameters of training hard as a bodybuilder, feeling the muscle is like a huge part of what we're trying to do. And it's taken me years to admit that, but it's a huge part of it.
So I want to say I use this example all the time, but based on that, once again, this is another thing of balance. But like if you wanted to build big legs, what would you feel your legs more doing? A squat or a leg extension? A leg
You feel
extension.
the extension more. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're never gonna if you have to pick one or the other to build big legs, you're never gonna pick the extension,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
the same concept. A lot of times, like you look at because I tell clients the same thing, right? You can send me a training video and it could be fucking textbook visually from the outside looking in. But that doesn't always matter. Sure, as far as safety and things like that,
Right.
yes. But like if you're doing this perfectly executed row or press or whatever, and it's just not happening, like for me, like for example, well, I even posted the barbell row video this morning that I did, and there's a little body English, like you said. I mean, it's over 400 pounds,
Right.
so I'm not going to be just sitting there like, right,
Right.
fuck
Right.
that. So, but if you ask, dude, I engage my lats, I can feel every muscle in my back working, but I have my back's one of my better body parts. Now, you take somebody and they send me that same video and their back sucks. I
Right.
might want to fine tune some things, rework some things, maybe try something different. Right.
Right.
It's the same thing with like lateral raises for me. I
Yes.
don't get a lot of like much from like very strict fucking like
Me either.
I do well with the branch Warren fucking swinging and
Yep.
fucking throwing them bitches, right?
Yep.
Because I don't care if my traps grow too, man. This whole area just gets
Right.
pumped as fuck.
I want it
I
all to
can't
be
even lift
big.
my arms up anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So um that's the thing is sometimes it's good to send to your coach to make sure that like things are where they need to be. Like I've got one kid, he's trying to fix his squat mechanics because his knees are not stable and it freaks me out. Um, but he's training hard in the whole nine, right? Which I'm fine with, and he's got decent legs. Um, and the other reason it's really useful to send your coach training footage is to monitor intensity too, because sometimes
Yes.
these people
There's
leave
6
fucking
left.
10 reps in a
Yeah.
fucking tank, bro.
Yeah.
So that's honestly some of the biggest feedback I gave was like, bro, you got like 4 more, and it wasn't even
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the end of the day, it does really matter what you feel, not just what you do.
Yep. Yeah, I think another part just separately about like the feedback or like sending your coach videos is the setup. Like I think there's a lot of things that people swing and miss on with setup. Like just
Yes.
which foot is forward, and are
Mhm.
your feet bouncing around underneath you when you're doing a chest press? Like man, grind those bitches in and get them firm. Like, um, but no, I'm a big. I've come around to this a lot. If I would have answered this question 5 years ago, I would have said, "Stick with the logbook. It's the only way." Like, but you realize like we're bodybuilding. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm trying to grow a particular area on my body, I better be able to feel it, and
And
especially if
this is
it's like
another
I think your back is one of those areas that you really have to feel because you cannot see it,
yeah,
so you must feel it.
and this is another thing reason I've come off the logbook a little more in recent years for me. I still like it a lot for young athletes and guys that need to put on a lot of tissue. I'm still a believer in it. At this point in my career, I'm not logging everything that I do in the gym because progression isn't linear. If I was chasing these kinds of numbers too,
Right.
I'd at this point be rowing 7 or 8 plates and fucking deadlifting
Right.
9 and it doesn't work like that. There comes and like I've known that, but I've been barbell rowing 4 to 4.5 plates for 3 years,
Right.
right?
And it just looks
So
better every
and my
time, right?
it looks better, it feels better, and my back's
Right.
grown. And if I was married to those numbers in the logbook, then that looks like no progression at all. What the fuck am I doing? Right. But it's not
Exactly.
obviously the case. So like once you get to a certain level of strength too, I mean, like a lot of the machines that I use are maxed out. Like
Yep.
uh I'm trying to pin stuff to them and find ways to make them harder and add bands and things like that. So it's like I can't just keep going that direction. I have to
Right.
find ways to maybe pause my reps, maybe
Exactly.
make it the third, like the barbell row, maybe used to be my first, second exercise, is now my third or fourth exercise. Like it's changing things like that to make things harder.
Right. Tempo's a
But
little bit
that's
slower on the
after,
negative or whatever the case
yeah,
is, right? You
exactly.
just
Less
find a way
rest.
to
We
make it
talked about
challenging.
like we talked about on my pendulum squat, like a little less rest at the top, things like that, right? Like
Yes.
make it harder for yourself. But that's not something that necessarily a logbook will always show. So,
Right.
but that's like I said, I'm 10 years in, and that first 8 of them I've strictly logbook. So it's like
Yeah.
it depends where you are, you know.
All right, boys. I think that was good. This with the two of you guys, I feel like, man, we get through 4 questions and it ends up being like where I
Yeah.
feel like we could have talked for 2 hours. So
I have to
I
pull
think there's a
back
lot of
sometimes. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good stuff. I know you got to go, Luke. I got to go train as well. Just to give you
Yeah.
some secondary insight right before we go. Perfect example. This guy's saying he can't really feel his back, so he's skipping the logbook. I am like a religious logbook person, but I have a day that I train delts and arms, and I don't log a single thing. I go in and go
Yeah.
until I can't lift those motherfuckers, and that's it.
Yeah. 'Cause that's a thing too. You don't want to logbook, and that's something I never really did too much of. If you're logging small muscle groups, you're just asking for compensation at a certain point.
Well,
Like,
that's like my
like,
elbows start to go. If I try to track
yeah,
and progressive overload my arms, my elbows and forearms start to go, and I'm like, man, I'm missing the whole point here. Like I'm supposed to feel
yeah.
this.
Those
So
muscle groups like shoulders and arms mostly, I've always just been like, even though there's no necessary science to back this, just go in and get the nastiest pump you can and then leave. That's
man,
how I
we
like to
got we
think about
got
that kind of
60 years of pro bodybuilding to reference as science. So that's
stuff.
all I need. That's all
Yeah.
I need to see.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, awesome. For Ty Jordan, for
For
Luke Pritchard, I'm Joseph Purchase. Was the One More Rep podcast. And until next time, we are